Salve, this is Kelly McCrimmon, Vegas Golden Knights General Manager, and we're going to compare his first 3 years in the draft. As you can see, no one, like all these players were drafted by the prior guy. So he had, you know, so none of these guys were drafted by him until basically until 2020. And you can see, so no one who's drafted has played a game yet in the NHL. So, you know, we're just going to do his first 3 drafts. You can see the other guy, his first 3 drafts, Kelly McCrimmon, compared to McPhee. But basically, you can see his drafts. He did Brisson, 29th overall. Lukas Cormier is a bit of an undersized guy. I got to give him like a C-. Jackson Halem, a C-. William Wickman, another C-. Elias Noah, C-. Maximers. Zach Dean, he managed to trade him for Barbershop, so I guess that's at least a C+. Danill Chayka, I'll give him a C+. Jacob Barbanek, Jake the Mech, Arthur Carl Lemberg, Matyas Jordan Gustafson, Cameron Whitehead, Patrick Guy, Ben Hanger. So far, I don't think that he's drafted well. I don't think Kelly McCrimmon is drafted well. So some people say that, oh, well, you know, they complain about the Vegas Knights roster, that nobody's been drafted on it. Now, Jack Eichel, he traded for Jack Eichel. Mark Stone, they traded for. William Karlsson was an expansion. They got him an expansion draft. Jonathan Marchand was an expansion draft. Riley Smith was part of that expansion draft. They traded him. Nicholas Raw was a trade. Chandler Stevenson was a trade when McCrimmon took over. William Carrier was expansion. Colasar, they have him listed as a trade. You know, but I think they actually might have, I forget, maybe they picked him or they got him in the trade. Either way. Paul Cartier was a draft pick. He was drafted by McPhee. Michael Matyas was a waiver claim. That was a good pick. Pavel Dorofeyev was a draft pick. Fred Howden was signed, but he was traded like a captain. Ivan Barbershop, they traded the first overall pick that McCrimmon did with him. Phil Kessel, I mean, come on. Anyone could have had Phil Kessel. Alex Pietrangelo, they signed him. Alec Martinez, that was signed after a trade. Shea Theodore, they traded for him in the expansion thing. McNabb was an expansion thing. Zach Whitecloud, they signed him. That's a good contract. Nicholas Hogg, that's one guy they drafted in the first draft. He's got a cup. It takes guys like 3 to 5 years to play. So how many players could they have drafted to win the cup by now? Ben Hutton, they signed him. Who really wanted him? Caden Korsak, he's a draft guy. Pavel Reicher, they just re-signed him actually. Logan Thompson, they signed him. No one wanted him. Logan Brossart was signed. They traded for Aiden Hill, Jonathan Quick, they traded for him. Patrick Nolan, Robin Leonard, they traded for him. You know, they have non-roster players. Brendan Brisson, Ivan Bobbers, Primo. So, you know, a lot of their draft picks are in the minors. It's not like they don't have anyone. Yuri Patera, they got him from the expansion as future considerations. They took him. He's played a couple games for them. So, I would say that they've drafted all right, but I think they drafted better with McPhee than McCrimmon. But it's really tough because, you know, McCrimmon hasn't really had the best draft positions. You know, you look at where he's drafting. I mean, he's drafted like, you know, you look here, his earliest position. Alright, he had a first round pick, Brendan Brisson. But you can see none of them have any NHL games. So he hasn't really drafted that good. I mean, Brandon Brisson, Lukas Cormier, Zach Dean, some people like. Maybe Daniel Chayka will be alright, but so far no one that he's drafted is really any good. I mean, I like who he drafted in 2023. Maybe that guy will pan out, but yeah, so I would say the Vegas Golden Knights, for an expansion team, they did what they had to do. But it's not fair to say that they bought their team or whatever, because, I mean, every player on this roster they got one way or the other. Jack Eichel, they traded guys that they signed. They traded players that they drafted for him. Jonathan Marchand, Florida didn't want to pay him. Florida did not want to pay him. He had the 30-goal season. Mark Stone, Mark Stone, they didn't want to pay him. They made a good trade. They traded one of the undersized defensemen in that trade. Chandler Stevenson, a 5th-round pick, been an amazing player, one of the best players on the team. Ivan Barbashev, they traded their 1st-round pick for him. You know, the guy that they took in the 1st round. William Karlsson, that was part of like considerations for Columbus that they took, I think, the contract of Clarkson. Riley Smith was an assistant. Critical player. He was part of the thing with Marchessault, so they would take Marchessault. They didn't want his contract. They didn't want to pay him. Shea Theodore was a part of the expansion. They traded him. They paid him. The guy knew him from the Ducks or something, whatever. Nicholas Waugh, that might have been Schmidt, I'm thinking. Nicholas Waugh, they traded him. Brad Howden was a cost-effective contract they picked up. You know what I mean? Michael Amadio was a waiver claim. I always liked him, always believed in him. Alex Pietrangelo, they needed the right-handed defenseman. Zach Whitecloud, they needed the right-handed defenseman. They got him to a good contract. Alec Martinez, they traded for him. Cup-winning champion William Carey, the physical game, they got him. Nicholas Hogg, they drafted in their 1st draft in the 2nd round. Kolasar, another guy they got. Brandon McNabb, they got an expansion. Kessler was Luger, they got in the trade, a little depth guy. Ben Hutton. Braden Patchell, they signed as an undrafted guy. So, yeah, I would say that that McCrimmon's done all right. He's got a cup. I mean, but if you look at their salary, look at the salary of like their guys. They're not paying guys $10 million. They didn't give Eichel that contract. But look at their defensemen. Pietrangelo, $8.8 million. Martinez is making more than Theodore at $5.25 million. Shea Theodore, $5.2 million. Brady McNabb, $2.85 million. A little bit of a raise when he was making $2.5. Zach Whitecloud, $2.75 million. Hogg, $2.295, one-fifth. Ben Hutton, and then when you compare them to like mediocre Mikey, he's getting paid over $4 million. Mediocre Mikey wouldn't even be on this team. He's not good. He's not any good. He's not better than that. He wouldn't be playing over Alec Martinez. He wouldn't be playing over Shea Theodore. He wouldn't be playing over Brady McNabb, Whitecloud, or Hogg. He's not any good. The Kings pay their defensemen, like even was making more money than these guys. So their defensemen are pretty cost effective. I mean, some of their forwards, their contracts aren't so good. They just signed Barbashev though. Barbashev, like, if we actually refresh this, now this is what their contract, this is what their roster looks like now. So you can see they made a few moves. They picked up Pavel Pacha for $7.75. You know, they paid $5 million for Barbashev, which he was going to get at least $4 million. I mean, that was the minimum of his cost, because he's getting like 36, 40 points. So he's going to get, his market value is at least $4 million. So him getting $5 million in 3 years, we'll know if that was a good deal or not. But yeah, you can see their contracts aren't really that bad. Eichel has a bad contract. Stone has a bad contract. Karlsson has a bad contract. I would have traded Marchessault. But Barbashev, they replaced Riley Smith with a younger guy, about the same height and everything. Chandler Stevenson, $2.75. That's a contract, really good. William Carey, $1.4 million. And Kolasar, physical players that kind of can really play on that 4th line and get things going. Paul Carter has upside. He's making $7.75K. If he can score 15, 20 goals a year, you got Amadio, who's getting in that range. I don't know what his next contract will be. Dorofeyev, he's all right. Brett Howden, Lukas. So they still got a good team. They're going to be competitive. You know, and I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with their goalies. Supposedly they have Aiden Hill signed. But like, even if they had to go with Yanni Patera, Yuri Patera and Logan Thompson, Patera could play at least 10 games if you don't think he can play 20 or 30. So yeah, I would say that Kelly McCrimmon's been alright as a GM. The Vegas Knights, he's made some bad trades. He's made better trades than drafts. So Kelly McCrimmon, I don't think he's drafted well. Although the guy that he took in the draft this year, maybe he'll work out. Maybe he won't. We'll see. I mean, you can see if you update it. David Edstrom, if anyone's still watching. David Edstrom, I think he's going to be alright. He is a 6'3" left center. 6'3" Swedish guy. Maybe he had 15 goals, 28 points in 28 games. So this is their 1st round pick. I think this is the guy who has the most potential out of anyone that McCrimmon's drafted in the first round, so hopefully he will pan out. But anyways, so that gives you an idea how McCrimmon's been in his drafts, and we'll see how he does in the future. But thanks and take care. I appreciate everyone for watching this long. David Edstrom, maybe he'll be a future